our podcast, the new real estate roadmap with myself, Chris Cusimano, and
Jen, the coughing machine Konikoff. Hey.
Jen is back this week. We missed her last week because
Yes.
she still has some residual side effects from that. So you were sick, huh?
Yeah, I had the flu. My son had the flu. We didn't know it, and we went on a cruise. And the moment we got on the cruise, uh, it was just downhill. We were in the cabin like 60 to 70% of the time. We went out for like air, and then came back in because he just couldn't walk. He had the flu. We didn't know. We didn't know. And
Oh,
then as soon as we walked into the house, I walked in, went straight to the couch, and didn't move for like 3 days. So
wow.
I went and got tested, and then I had the flu. Then Dan had the flu. So it's just been like a rotation of flu here in this house.
Yeah, but you're not the only one, and yours was long term. Like it was over a week
Yes.
almost.
And I still have like lingering like the coughs, like if I talk a lot. So that's why it's like Jen the coughing machine kind of cough. I
So
don't know.
Kenna and one of the babies, Adelaide, caught something too. Adelaide wasn't bad, but she has residual cough too, and she was sick for over a week. I think you guys got like the same thing. I didn't catch anything.
Strand, the same
Something's going
strand.
on.
Yeah, well, my son's school, his classroom, I think had like 5 kids that tested positive for the flu. So it's definitely going around. And anytime I talk to, because I work, of course, I'm working while I'm sick. I'm like, hello.
Yes, of course you're a realtor.
Every person I talk to, like, yeah, man, my mom, my sister, my whatever, somebody had somebody in their life that was struggling with a version of the flu. So it's either that season or whatever's going around is that strong that's just hitting everybody up. So
Maybe it's the new Rona. No one's
maybe,
getting boosters anymore.
maybe.
Oh, look at you. Listen to you. Yeah, so Kenna, we went to the Great Wolf Lodge. Was it last weekend or weekend before? I think it was the last weekend. Yeah, it was last weekend. And like no one slept because we're in their hotel room, and we got a nice one where it's like whatever. Wasn't we weren't on top of each other, but
Hmm.
still like all night long. I'm like, oh my god. I'm like, babe, can you sleep in the car? Like, I love you and all, but I did ask her that. I'm like, or can I take the baby and sleep in the car because I can't sleep with this. So if you were
Yeah.
going through the same thing like that,
Yeah, no, same. And it's like you are in a space all together. So nobody really sleeps. The person that has this ridiculous sounds coming out of them, they're not sleeping. And then the rest of yours was a room, mine was a cabin. Nobody was sleeping. So you're waking up with like bags under our eyes. I didn't want to eat. We just wanted coffee on tap, and then when 1 o'clock hit, sometimes 11:30, I'm like, "Where's my mimosa?" Because I need
amen to that. Yeah, you went through it. Yeah, I'll tell you what. And then you were out of commission for a little bit. Last week you're recovering. Actually, yeah, but you had a closing on Monday, and you have a closing coming up on Friday.
Yeah.
So you're just trucking right through it, and you said your closing on Monday was a doozy. Oh, we should before we talk about real estate. If you haven't heard us before, we are a real estate show.
Oh yeah.
We do kind of stray into other realms, but whatever. I mean, how often can you just listen about real estate stuff? And I got some really cool stuff we'll talk about later on, and we usually have our podcast co-host Alex. He can't make it today. He's going through some something. I don't know. He just can't make it. And then
He might have the
La-
flu for all we know. My God, this did it get you too, Alex? You too.
he he texted us like 10 minutes ago that he just can't make it.
Yeah.
Like, okay. Um, but we replaced you, Jennifer, with my other favorite Puerto
Mm.
Rican female of all time. It
Yeah.
was like the perfect replacement,
Yeah.
JD.
Well, we're not gonna go with the replacement. I feel like that's really harsh.
That's true.
We're just gonna go with we were a wonderful, compatible co-stars that just tagged it. You're it today.
Yeah, she
And
did a great
Jade,
job.
she
So
did.
go
I
ahead, Jen.
watched it. I watched it. You
Oh,
guys were fantastic. I loved it. I love the banter.
yeah, I think she's gonna be a reoccurring thing because she has a different personality from you in a different female voice, and her voice is so different from. So my concern on podcasts is
Hmm.
that when people are listening, like when I listen to podcasts and they have multiple hosts, I don't sometimes know who's speaking because their voices are similar.
Ah, yes.
so that's why one of the reasons I asked Alex, because you can't mistake our voices. And with JD, if she came on, no one's gonna mistake her voice for yours, right?
Hmm.
And she is very experienced and she has a lot of good things to say. And she also has a different energy level from you. She does perk up at times, but a lot of times she's very,
And
less Jen.
yeah, well, I like, so we're totally different people. We're very hyper focused and passionate, but it comes off and
Yeah.
it translates differently, right? So you can tell the different personalities in it. And I think it's a really great like mesh of personalities, especially in an industry where we have to be so fluid. You have to be fluid in how you present things, because sometimes you're going, well, not sometimes, all the time, you're going to be meeting just different personalities and being able to approach a situation. It's great to have a different take on it, and I loved hearing JD. She's a real riot.
Yeah, she's a fantastic addition and just an all around
Hmm.
great friend. There's her and you were the two people that I've always wanted to work with. And I'm
Huh.
glad that now,
I
no,
hummed.
I say it all the time. I say it all the time, and it's because, well, there's a lot of reason for it. So actually, let's just talk about it. Actually, we have a lot to talk about today. But when you, we kind of briefly spoke about this earlier at the team meeting. And I think it's kind of a good point. Is when you're running a real estate business, it is so hard.
I
It
bet.
is,
Well, no, I
well,
know.
you
I thought.
know.
Well, I thought you said team for a second, and it didn't register that you said business. But yes, it is freaking hard running
Yeah.
any business, and then real estate business is just, it's a doozy.
It's a dude. Well, for a lot of people, they see just like mostly the social media posts, like they see
Hmm.
the closings, the glamour, the fun, but to get to that one closing, how many hurdles you had to clear just for that one. And I'll often hear from people when they're upset about paying a commission, like you make that much money on that deal. I'm like, yeah, but hold on for a second. You have no idea what it got to get to this point,
Hmm.
and how many punches and how many losses and how many sleepless nights and all that just to get to this point. And if you're working by yourself, doing that
Hmm.
alone, especially inexperienced, it's an extremely, extremely hard industry. I mean, the numbers to say it, Jen. I don't have it in front of me, but I think it's like 1.4% of people who are in the business full time make six figures or more, like something
Yeah.
like that. And then it was like it's 87% of the people get their license are out by their fifth year, and then out of that 13%, it out of that 13% is like less than like a fraction of people who are actually quote unquote successful. And most
Yeah.
of those people, the majority of those people make about 50K a year, which isn't a bad income, but it's not what people came in to do. So
Hmm.
when someone's like, "Oh, you make that much money on one deal," for the average real estate agent, that's 1/5 of their annually salary,
Hmm.
and they got
Yeah.
to pay taxes on it
Yeah.
and all the other things.
It's not a
It
straight
splits,
50.
yeah, and all your everything else that's involved. It's a challenging business, and I don't say that to scare people. I always tell people, like, the harder you see things, that's a bigger opportunity, because when something is hard, less people are going to do it, and if less people are going to do it, you're going to succeed. My friend, I'm not going to say her name, but my friend who lives in North Carolina is getting her license. I actually sold her house and she went up there, and she's like, "Oh my
Hmm.
god, this process is incredibly hard, like just all
Hmm.
this." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's
Just
awesome."
just wait till you're in it.
Yeah, I just say, yeah. But before then, I was like, I'm like, "Isn't that awesome?" And she wrote back. It
Mm.
was on a Facebook conversation. She's like, "What do you mean? Is that awesome? Why is it hard awesome?" I'm like, "Because it's harder for everyone else too, and they're gonna
Mhm.
quit. Your competition's gonna quit before you even started. That's great."
Yeah.
And whatever. So I always have that talk with people. It's so hard. It's so hard. I'm like, but really, it's not hard. It's not hard like the task you have to do. It's just
Mhm.
being consistent with the work. And I think the hardest part, for me personally, when I was a solo agent, or even sometimes now, is the loneliness of it.
Oh
You
yeah.
know?
Prior to joining, I was a solo agent for 4 years, and it is lonely. And sometimes you just don't have anybody to really sit and bounce ideas and work through problems out. Because the name of the game is problem solving. How can we get from this part of the transaction to this next contingency? Okay, an obstacle came about. How do we cross it so that we can meet these contingencies within our, because we're contractually bound, and we want to make sure that we're protecting, we're getting our buyers or sellers to that next threshold, but ultimately with a home or their proceeds. So our job is to problem solve. And one of my main things that I love about being a part of the team is that I do get to have just like a meeting of the minds all the time. People, solo agents can do that with their friends, excuse me, with their, agent friends, but it's something about being on the same team and being able to have these conversations that just constantly flow
Yeah,
is really cool.
oh, for sure. I think that's why I keep on, well, not keep on. That's why I created the team. One of the reasons why is because of that, because it is a lonely field. And what's also weird is when you're working by yourself, you see everyone as a competitor. Let's be
Mm.
real, we do. Like if they're not on your team or whatever, you see them as a competitor. And it can get, it can get a little dicey sometimes, when your friends or family are quote unquote competing against you. And I'm like, I don't want to
Hmm.
live in that space. I don't.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'd rather just work with people and grow together and all that stuff. But with that said, being what I was leading to before is like being a real estate agent's hard enough. Now imagine running a team of multiple people with their problems and their stresses and their individual situations and their different work ethics and their different, pain points and whatever. And I'm learning through this process. If someone goes, okay, what is the hardest part about running the team? And I was thinking about this, and is that
Tell
we're
me, what is the
I'll
hardest
tell
part?
you because maybe one day you'll run one. Is that the main job of someone who's running a team is to provide opportunities for other agents to grow their businesses and grow the business in ways that they wouldn't have been able to do before, or likely not. It's just to provide opportunity.
Hmm.
And I take that to the extreme in my opinion, where it's almost like overbearing for people, or they're like, oh my god, enough, enough, enough. um and also with that opportunity, I get lost where I'm like, I'm giving everything I can for this person. Why, for some people, why are they not succeeding?
Hmm.
Why are they not doing well? Why are they not listening to me? And I take it not personally, but it's for them because I'm like, I see the potential in these people and what their lives can be and what their clients can experience if they just did it and then they don't do it.
Yeah.
And that does eat at me. And then what happens is, for sometimes I have a hard time. I have a hard time just cutting people off. So what
Hmm.
happens is, like, what really has gotten to me at first for a while, at first gen, and now it's not so bad, is and when people say they end up leaving and they go, you know what, it's just not for me, and I just want, and then the whole time used to say, I'm like, because you didn't do anything. That's what it's like.
Well, I
I don't
think
know how
too.
else I could have helped you. You
Well, I
know?
think too with because you do have the coaching program, and you've really put sweat, blood, tears into the program. You lived it, you've tweaked it, you've modified it, and been able to make it a scalable situation so that people can grow, have success in it. And having somebody join the team that may not give that 100% of themselves to the process is disheartening, right?
Yeah, it
Because
is.
that's, I think that's the right word. It's disheartening, and it does, it does hurt when people want to leave. But I'm a big believer in things happen for a reason, and I personally know that you can go to sleep at night saying, you know what, I provided all the
Yeah.
tools and resources. These are grown ass
Yeah,
adults
it's
that got to do what they got to do, right?
yeah, I don't get upset for me, like, that
Yeah,
they're leaving. I get upset mostly for them because I'm like,
because
they're
the opportunity was there, right?
yeah, and for there's a couple reasons, like, when people do leave. I am a high D personality, and high D personalities do have trouble disconnecting, or leaving, with losing people is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And we can go down the rabbit hole with that. But I've learned to disconnect from that. I get concerned about them. Like, they came into a process to make changes in their lives, and I went over what the process looks like and all the
Mm-hmm.
opportunities that are available. And then when they don't do them, or they don't do them, I mean, maybe as robust as I would prefer. and then they ended up leaving and going and doing another job, which has happened before, or just moving or just quitting the industry. I get frustrated because I'm like, I know that's not why they entered. That's not why they entered
Mm-hmm.
my world or real estate world. They entered for a different lifestyle and different change. And if they only spent the time putting the stuff together that we teach and that we apply and that we provide stuff for, they would have. And they started this when they started with us in that year since when they're quitting. If they just did it, their lives would be so much more like what they anticipated it to be.
Robust.
Yeah, so that was the struggle. It's more like I'm concerned about them, and I'll see them with their pictures of their with their kids online, and then I'll see them working their other job where they're making like almost nothing that they they're clocking in and clocking out working for someone else. They're not living their dream, and I know internally that must eat at them, and it eats at me because I feel like maybe I failed them in a way,
And
you know.
that's the struggle with being, at the top, right? There are things that it's out of your control, and there's things that are within your control. So I'm sure that if I was in your position, ooh, I'd have to do a lot of self-reflecting, a
Yeah,
lot.
it's really weird. You know what's really weird about it, Jen? And I noticed this, like I get when people leave. I do I I'm not too shy. I tell people how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes they take it the wrong way. And I'll say, listen, the reason why this never happened for you is because you didn't do these things. And this is
Mm-hmm.
the opportunity you had. And I'm like, I'm not trying to make you feel bad. I'm just trying to convey how I see it because I invested a year of time, sweat, tears, and money
Mm-hmm.
into you. I can have my say here, right? Which would only benefit you. And what they do, not always, what some have done, they're like totally unfriend me on everything
Mm-hmm.
and block me. I'm like, why would you? We were in a relationship for a year where I gave you my all and I asked for nothing in return. You cost me money, time, and everything. And I feel like I care about more about your future than you do, and then you block me. That was
I,
just really odd,
I
you
think
know?
it's a level of insecurity, right?
Yeah.
Which it comes down to. I saw a reel because that's what I did last night. I scrolled. I don't like
The death
scrolling.
scroll.
I did death scroll. Actually, I've done the death scroll for about a week this week, just because I was laying in bed like.
Yeah. Yeah.
but but I did see one about how this woman was super inspirational voice, awesome dramatic background music, and she was just alluding to the fact that people that are okay with themselves and are very self-aware, when people tell them their quote unquote flaws, it doesn't it shouldn't phase them, because if you are self-aware enough,
You know already.
you already
Yeah.
know. You don't got to tell me, I know. So I thought
Yeah.
that was pretty like to the point, but forces people to self-reflect, because nobody should be pointing out anything about you that you don't already know, and that's a
Correct.
part of that growth process, which is, I mean, real estate really pushes you, at least if you're a good agent, and to be self-aware, because we have to push through our own personal boundaries to be our best self for our clients, whether it's a buyer or a seller. We have to push through any of our own personal shit so that we're the best
Yep.
versions of ourselves for these people, because they're putting a lot on the line, trusting us. It's a big trust game here, and for us to get them from the concept of buying and selling to the realization that, oh my god, I'm really pulling the trigger and doing this, it's huge. I take a lot of honor in the trust, which I appreciate, but it's come from a lot of self-awareness. I read a lot of books, or listen to nowadays, of
Yeah.
just right. I used to sit and read for hours, I swear.
Yeah. Well,
Now,
I did too before kids. This
kids
many
and
kids, dogs, and
I only have two, but they're very active. They're very active children, and we're always out on the field,
yeah,
doing
you are.
stuff. But at the end of the day, like, a lot of self-awareness comes with the territory so that you can better serve. It's all about serving.
Well, that's a good point. I feel like if you are doing and do well in this industry, you can even have like I know people who do quote unquote well, and they're very very unaware of themselves, but
Mm,
they just, I feel like, but I know these people individually, and they're just very aggressive and they just push. They're just shoving like that elephant through the doorway, right? It's
mm,
just in a very aggressive play, and whatever. If that's who they are, that's who they are. But I also noticed that the people who are generally like people I would have a drink with, like yourself and JD and other
mhm,
people like, they are self-aware, and they don't have to manipulate or mislead or push that elephant through the door. They Because they understand, they're not only self-aware, but in order to be self-aware, you have to be emotionally intelligent, where you have to see other people and their behavioral style. And if you're aware of your flaws and your insecurities and your perks too, the pluses too, and then you
oh, yeah,
also can see that in your client, you're smart enough to know, or you're aware enough to know, like, okay, maybe I should communicate in this style with this
mhm,
person. And you also don't get upset when they say something that may upset other people, because you're just aware of the situation and how you, through history, react in that situation. And you have to understand how their behavior style might ruffle the wrong feathers in some people. But
mhm.
if you're aware of yourself, you can handle it. So that's a very good point, Jen.
I am an intelligent young lady, and
Oh,
I
okay.
emphasize the young. Because
Uh,
although I have not gotten my roots done, and some of you
uh,
via YouTube might see the level of gray that has, you know, approached my head here. I am quite young, I swear it.
if you're listening, we also have this on YouTube. You can, it's on the Coaching by Kuzi YouTube channel, and it's at the 21-minute mark if you want to see
Oh,
Jennifer's gray hairs.
yeah, I mean it's okay. I've been an early what is it, like early onset gray since I think I when I turned 21, that's when like all my roots just started turning gray. Yeah, it's so
Speaking of which, it's funny you say that. On Facebook, I want to talk. There's so many things I want to talk about, but whatever, we'll get to it. But on Facebook, I posted yesterday, and Instagram. It showed there was I was going through my, speaking of YouTube, I was going through my old YouTube channel, and I
mhm.
found my first marketing video, and I was like, oh my god, you're a damn baby. Like, is
Yeah.
this 20 years ago? It wasn't. It was 12 years ago,
I didn't get
and
to watch it, but oh boy, you look so bitty bitty.
I don't think I put the link to the video on it.
Oh, okay.
I think it's a private link. Maybe I'll share it if anyone's interested. But anyways, so I took a screenshot of that, and then a screenshot of the video I did on my way back from a listing appointment I did with JD, which this is actually a good segue to that.
Mm,
And I put side by side and put up there. I'm like, I can't believe in 12 years I aged this much, and I have all this like gray here.
mm.
It's like, but whatever. They call it seasoning. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, it's salt and pepper, baby.
Salt and pepper, baby.
You got nothing but Americano seasoning right there.
It's all good. But I was looking at that first photo. I'm like, I can't believe people hired that kid. He was a baby. But mind you, I wasn't that young. I was 30 then, but I looked like a
Mm.
baby. And I guess that's what 5 kids and will do to you. So,
what
so
what 5 years in the industry would do to you, or
oh
10
my
years?
god. Oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I know.
That
Um,
too.
but speaking of Facebook, so before we came on, I got to get back to it. Yes, we're, Gen Z. We do talk about Facebook a lot because that's what we grew up on. But anyways, I was on, I did like a little Jedi mind trick on,
Mm-hmm.
I'll share with it, and it wasn't intentional at first, but then it just came to be. Anyways, what happened was my dog got ill. He ate something, and I don't, we don't know what. Everyone keeps asking me, but he ate something, but we didn't know it at the time. I just know he wasn't feeling well. I took him to the vet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm documenting this journey because people seem to like golden retrievers. His name is Rex. Anyways, every time I'll give an update of how he's doing with his surgery and all that, and people are like, what do you eat? What do you eat? What do you eat? And I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know. The first time I went in there, the doctor did an x-ray, and he's like, I can't really tell. It's something's definitely there. I just can't really tell. Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he called up the voicemail, or was it that? Or yeah, it was when he left the voicemail. I was like, yeah, there's some foreign object in there that we got out or something like that. That's all he said. It was a voicemail. And then when I called the next day for an update, actually called that night. They were busy. They said they'll call me back. They didn't. I called the next day for an update, which was yesterday. And they were, again, just super busy. Like, oh, we're so busy. We're not trying to, whatever. Just, you can come get him tonight though. So I went to get him that night, which was last night. And I posted updates on it. Everyone's like, what did he eat? What did he eat? What did he eat? What did he eat? And I was And I'm like, I don't know. Stop asking. I really don't know. Stop asking. Anyways, so but I knew it was on everyone's mind. So I figured that when I went there, I would know. But it didn't happen. The vet tech was slammed. The doctor wasn't there. The receptionists were running around with their chicken with their head cut off. Right? They were doing. I'm like, "Ugh, they just want me out.
Yeah.
So they didn't even give me an invoice. I just walked out. I mean, I prepaid, but they didn't give me like a follow up invoice or anything. They're like, here's his medicines. Here's how he takes them. Come back in 2 weeks. I'm like, okay. You could tell they're like rushing it very professionally though. I'm not whatever. Anyways, as I'm leaving, I'm like, I know everyone's gonna want to know what he ate. So I get home. I'm like, I got to do a post about him being home. And then what I see is my other dog, Buzz. He took swimming goggles and he's running around the backyard. He likes to grab your stuff and you chase him and get him. My other dog, that's like his thing. And he grabbed goggles, swimming goggles. I'm like, oh, hopefully he doesn't eat that. And I'm like, oh, I got it.
Oh my
So I
God.
put,
People think he actually ate that.
yeah, I put the goggles. I don't know if you saw the post. I put the big giant swimming goggles in a bag. So it looks like, and I put it on the counter, right? And I took a picture of it at an angle. So it didn't look like, and then I'm like, two things came home today. My boy Rex and what he ate. I don't know if you saw this post.
No.
People lost their minds. What? Wait, he ate that? Blah, blah. It was like, so anyways, I'm like, oh, I know what to do here. And so I'm like, I'm just going to let it ride, let people freak out for a little bit. And then I pre-scheduled a post and it says, if you think my dog Rex ate a whole pair of goggles, then I have a whole house to sell you. No, seriously, I have a few on my website you can buy right now. And then everyone, and like, so I'm answering. Yeah. So like for like 4 days, people were just dying to know what's going on with Rex, what he ate and all that. And I still don't know, by the way. And then I'm like, oh, I know exactly what to do
That's
here.
Funny.
So did I leverage my dog a little bit for some content? Yes, I sure did. Because Jennifer,
I mean, that dog's costing you some moolah. You might as well make it
$1,800 over the 2 times this happened. $18,000. $18,000.
Okay, make that one stab into like multiple to my heart. Oh my God, I know. Can we? Can we?
I know.
Rex is making Duke look like a fucking winner right now. Duke, you just keep laying there, buddy.
You don't do anything, Duke.
He just stares. Well, no, he's a lover. Okay, he stares and just looks. Those
he just glances. The slight eye gaze and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, that's my baby. Nobody else.
I'm actually reading multiple books. When I say reading, I listen and read at the same time. And one of the books is about body language. And I'm realizing like now I'm like conscious of my body. I'm like making sure my shoulders are back, and then my chest should be slightly angled and not dead on. Like I'm learning all these like cues.
Oh, because it's dead on is a little more confrontational.
Yes, aggressive.
Yes,
it's confident but aggressive. So if they say when you talk to people, be open but slightly at an angle, and don't. Yeah, you don't close off with your arms and because I want to be the best person I can be when it comes to my profession, and body language is key to that. Anyways,
Chris, wait, before you go on, what's the name of this book?
Oh, that's a good question. I'll pull it up. It's in like my Kindle thingy. But one thing that I thought was interesting because I noticed that other people do this with me when they're trying to act like they're paying attention, they straight up dead stare me in the eyes, right? When I know they're not listening.
So they're looking at you, but they're seeing through you.
Yeah, here it is. I'll give it to you in a second. But there's but I know they're not really paying attention. So, and I'm like, I was wondering if I was doing the same thing. But in this book, it says, there's a way to look people in the eyes without being creepy, and whatever. It's just a look, a blink, and then like a glance away, and like something like that. And I was like, oh, I got to be more conscious of that.
I feel like I'm a good listener, so I typically lean in. I'm a lean inner. I make sure that I register what you said. I'll do like a reassurance that I captured it, a one word or a response of no way, really, tell me more.
Well, you're very good at what's called piggybacking, where you go when someone will say something and then you'll piggyback off that thing. Like if I say, the sky is really blue today, I'm like, you're like, yeah, it is really blue today. I wonder how it got that. What do you think? Like that, you're really good at that.
Absolutely.
Because I think
You
you
know,
actually care.
I do care a lot. Uh, but I think that just from my 10 years of previous teaching, where my job was to pull and engage, right, to engage and pull from the students or whoever was in front of me, being able to capture their attention but also show them that I am caring for that individual while I have masses around me as well. Because although I think it was, I don't know how many kids did I teach a day. It's like 30 kids per class, six classes a day. One class was like 40 kids. I mean, every kid thought that I was there. Like when I talked to them,
Favorite.
I talked to them, and that's how it was because that's how I made them feel. But they were one of 30 at a time. So
Teaching
yes,
is the most underrated, underpaid profession in this country,
yeah, I would
and
honestly,
underappreciated.
if it wasn't for the pay, I would still be a teacher. I love that shit. I love the
Yeah.
kids. I love the community. I'm so invested in just being a part of the community. When I transitioned out of teaching, it was always, I went from teaching the young children and helping families from the ground up because they were the foundation in terms of like the generation and family to now helping the whole family work their way up gener- I can't say the word.
Generational.
Generational. Generational.
Yeah, no, you're built for teaching. But you
Yeah.
can always teach coaching by Kuzi courses whenever you want.
Oh, thank you. You're so
Mm.
kind. Yeah.
So actually, let's talk about. I want to. That's a good segue. So first off, before you ask the name of the book, it's called Body Language and Manipulation by Terry Lindbergh. Body Language and Manipulation by Terry Lindbergh.
Mm.
A lot of stuff you know already, but some things you're just not conscious of, and I kind of just whatever. It was a good listening slash read.
So
So
when
what
I
I do, oh,
when
go
I
ahead.
come to when I come to you next time and I come at an angle,
You're gonna walk with your shoulder
I'm gonna
leading.
walk with my shoulder leading. Hey, Chris.
That's not creepy at all. Oh man,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
no. I'm gonna give you guys a quick life hack. So I realized that before the election, I was getting a lot of news alerts that was taking my attention, and I'll go and read an article, and then I'll go back to work, and then go to YouTube alert, and then I'll watch this YouTube what's happening with the election. And I realized I
Mhm.
was doing that for so long, and then like after election, I'm like, what a waste of freaking time all that was. Like, so what I did was decided to get productive again, and I turned off all my alerts for everything, and I got back into what I've been doing is I read and listen at the same time of books,
Mhm.
and that way it triggers different parts of your brain.
Sure does.
um and also after reading you listen to something if like you focus on it, and then let's say later you want to go walk your dog, and of course you're not going to carry a book with you, you can put that audio back in your ear, and then you heard it a second time, plus you read it. And then my tip always is, I always believe that you should master one book instead of reading 100, right? It's
Mm.
just like there's no
Mhm.
point of reading a book if you didn't master the information in it, right? Like what's the point, just to hear something?
Yeah, that's a good
So the
take.
book, yeah, I think, well, of course. So there's a book that I'm reading that really opened my eyes to how I want to now pursue the coaching program later on. Is all about launching products. And anyway, so what I'm going to do today, and I think this is a very good tidbit for any real estate agent out there or any business owner, really, is that part of that I have to create some more content. So I'm going to make some content today about launching the coaching program, which, by the way, we're launching February 4th to a select few people. If you want to get on the wait list, I'll put the link in the description. You get on the wait list, and there's free trainings and all that stuff that comes before the major launch. The launch, I'll plug
Yes.
it. It's 3 months. It's 3 months of immersive training. We're going to meet Tuesdays and Thursdays at noon online. A small group of people. Well, maybe it might grow large, but agents, we're going to go step by step by step and step by through the process of how I built my business in a very unique way. Like the only way you don't do well and succeed is if you don't show up and or you don't do it. Um, which I have another bunny trail on that one, but I'm not. But anyways,
To
the
be in your
content
head.
the content that I'm gonna make for today is the first part of the training that I do, which I call the product phase. And and I think this would be very, very valuable for here because I feel that a big struggle most real estate agents make is conveying or justifying their value to a consumer. And I say that because I experienced that at first. Like, we internally know, oh, some of us know that their experience with us. Okay, I'll speak for myself. I can't speak for everyone else. I felt that the experience that someone had working with me would be beneficial opposed to with someone else. And I'm trying not to sound arrogant, but I put a lot of effort into that experience that they would have um,
Mhm.
with me. And not only the experience, but the outcome. I take negotiating for their bottom line in their best terms very seriously. I feel
Absolutely.
like if they're hiring me for this thing, I'm going to do everything I can. So I know some of my colleagues don't, and I know that a lot of people just want to get the deal done, and I'm
Mhm.
not that way at all. And I felt like it was really hard to convey my value of how much their bottom line would increase with me as opposed to someone else, and how their experience level would be throughout that process as opposed to someone else. It was really hard to convey. So what I always struggle with is like, how when they go, well, so and so is going to do it for less than you. What they basically did, they just turned me into a commodity, meaning they didn't really see me as beneficial
They didn't
other
see you as
than
a
the other person.
valuable or any more
They
valuable
just,
than the last person.
and even though I knew I could probably offer consistent, not consistent, but extra value to them that that they wouldn't have gotten elsewhere, in my opinion, at least.
Mhm.
I don't know, maybe they did. But how do you convey that? So, anyways, so I want to make content talking about what I learned, and I was desperate to find a way to put this all together, and basically I had to understand how business works, of course, because we run a business, and how the consumer thinks. So I have these two protein bars that just show there, and if if you're not watching, you're just listening, you can watch this on YouTube. So basically, what a consumer does for anything, and we're the same way. Let's say we have these two protein bars, they're sitting on the shelf, right? And these two protein bars essentially do the same thing, right? They're the same size, almost the same thing. One is $1, one's $10. Which one are you gonna buy? You're gonna buy the one that's $1, because the value of one is not of the product is the same. It didn't go up. The
Mhm.
only thing of value now is how cheap you can get it. So what consumers do is, and again, consumers will talk about me too, is when you're in a store, you're going to go look at these items and go, okay, is the exchange of my dollars going to get me a return equal or greater to, in terms of that product, as what I'm spending? So if I'm spending $5, am I going to get a $5 in benefit or return of the outcome of that $5? Right.
Mhm.
And that protein bar, if it's priced appropriately for most people, some people always going to say it's more expensive, and some people always going to say it's too cheap. But if you can hit the perfect price point, then you have a good product that solves the problem for most people, where they're willing to pay money for that thing,
Mhm.
right? So for me, I was like, oh, I guess that makes sense. So for consumers of me, they didn't see me as any more valuable than anyone else, meaning that I was just like one of these protein bars, and they were the same. It was the other protein, and they would have got the same experience, same outcome, same bottom line, regardless of who they hired. So the cheaper guy won.
Mm.
They made me a commodity, and I
And
struggled with that for a long time. Go ahead, Jen.
yeah, no, I totally see it. And actually, talking about the last closing that I had this week, actually, I think Monday or Friday, whatever day it was. I mean, that gentleman, he was so kind and thorough when we first initially had a conversation back in June. He was interviewing other agents. He was interviewing, I think I might have been like number three, and he still wanted to interview some others. But when I spoke to him on the phone for an hour, then I sent him a listing presentation with all the data points, all the value that we can provide him with. He's like, Jen, he sent me a text. Wow, that was amazing. I'm not going to even interview anybody else. You blew
Yep, that's what
everybody else
happens.
out of the water. Not only do I believe everything you're saying, you have just given me so much more information. And he goes, and you're not the cheapest. I was at the top. And he went with me. We got on a call when we closed, and he was beyond grateful. He could not stop thanking me on how amazing the process was, because although it was a doozy, I mean, initially I negotiated three different offers, took the best one. There was a special assessment that was coming, so it was a consideration. Hadn't been levied yet, but we disclosed everything on the front end. negotiated that the buyer would pay for this and would not come back to the seller for it, did not give a credit for it at all, like the most perfect ideal situation for him. He was over the moon then. Then as the contract time was going through, we were working through our contingencies, the HOA ran out of money, and all these other items started, obstacles came up, and I found a way to work through it alongside with amazing other people that we problem solved. Chris, we problem solved.
Yeah.
We did. But at the end of it all, my last call with him, and he's like, is this it for us? Are we done? I said, well, I hope not. I said, you better keep buying and selling and sending your friends over to me. He goes, absolutely.
Yes.
He liked to curse. He's like, Jen, you're fucking great. You're fucking great. And he's like, where do I write the review? Because I couldn't have gotten through this without you. Not only did everybody else who sold in my community lost so much money by going with somebody else, because most of the other people that closed, I think, had like a 15K concession or more because of this because of this future assessment on the roof, that he didn't have to. So he was just beyond grateful. And he's so funny. He's like, I just want to remind you that I'm a hothead, and anything, I knew I was screaming at times. It was never towards you. And he always started a conversation. I said, listen, I am here as your soundboard, as your problem solver, your agent. I am here for you from beginning to end. I know 100% that, when you were speaking out of frustration, it was not from me. He's like, no, it was my fucking HOA. I hate it was always towards them. I felt so bad. But anyway, moral of the story is that was one specific, just recent, that there were plenty of other agents that were at a discounted rate. But not only was I able to show them the value on the front end, consistently,
you delivered it.
Time and time again. Not only I deliver, I superseded any expectations. And at the end, not only do I have a very happy seller, I have a lifelong friend that will constantly send referrals my way because we delivered.
Yeah, there's so many things to unpack there. But if you guys want to deliver similar results, or actually before similar results, if you want to convey your value to them, we walk through that process on how to uncommoditize yourself and actually present something tangible where they get to experience the experience they had with Jen because they signed up with what you were able to offer and convey. And people are smart. People assume that people always want the cheaper one. That's not true.
No.
If that were the case, everyone would be driving Chevy Sparks and not Maseratis, right? It's not always about cheap for people. Because if you think about it, if you're just the cheapest, then it's a race towards the bottom. And if it's the cheapest guy is win, no one makes money. And if no one makes money, you cannot pay for things and services and experiences and hire out people to elevate to experience for your client, because you're barely getting by if at all. And that's why most people fail out. One of the reasons is that when they finally do get a deal, they're so scared of losing it, they just do it for free practically. Yeah. And that's not what people want. They don't want that. They want their bottom line to be beneficial. They want their experience to be on point, and they want to be able to rely on their agent to get their back. And a good point to all of this, if you're listening to your seller, or if you're just an agent, if you are immediately discounting who you are and your commission and what you can do in return for that commission, right? You already say, if they're saying, hey, will you do it for less? And you're immediately jumping, yeah, I'm the cheapest guy. Then what you're doing essentially is telling them that you don't know how to negotiate, that you have nothing to offer other than your price. And if you're that bad at negotiating how little value they add and how easily they give up money for themselves, imagine how not well they're going to negotiate on your behalf.
Correct. Because now that's no longer their money, right? So
well, it's not. It's the agent. The agent doesn't care. The agent wants the deal. I shouldn't say that. A lot of agents don't care. A lot do, but you're right. They just want the deal done.
Correct.
It's sad.
It is sad because you got to push for that. You got to push. You have to negotiate. I always tell my sellers and my buyers, listen, I'm gonna negotiate like you're my mama, okay, or you're my dad, and I'm gonna push so hard. And that's what my job is, because
that's what your job is.
That's my job. So I always tell them, like, I'm gonna push you like you're my mom or my dad, my sister, or whatever. Like,
well, why? Well, Jen, pop quiz. I'm gonna get you. What are the
Oh God.
7 requirements to sell a house? You should know this.
Oh, I do, but I hate when you do pop quizzes. It always makes
Catch
me
you.
nervous. I
It's all
get
right if you're not
anxiety.
comfortable.
Nah, it's all
Come on, do it.
right.
Do it. Do it. Do it.
Price. I'm doing price.
Okay.
Price, condition, marketing, location. Price, condition, marketing, location, communication, negotiations. I missed one. Um, I said price, condition, location, marketing, communication, negotiating. Oh, timing. Timing.
Timing. Yep. So the 7 requirements, and the
Yeah.
reason I'm saying that, so price, condition, and location are on the seller side. Marketing, communication, and negotiation is what they hire us to do. And the reason I'm saying that because Jen said multiple times how hard she negotiated. So if
Oh
you
yeah.
can't negotiate your value and your price point to your consumer, or if you're a seller and your agent immediately just sells your soul without providing any type of negotiating or explaining or value back to you, you have the wrong agent, because
Mhm.
that's 1/3 of what you're hiring them to do, is to negotiate aggressively for your best terms. So it's not the price that you pay, right, what you think you're paying up front. By the way, you paid at closing anyways. It's not that. It's what your overall experience and what your bottom line is going to be at the end of the day.
But
Because there are,
you do
go
pay
ahead.
for it up front though, Chris. You do because
Oh,
I
we
mean,
do.
now yeah, like we do. We pay for it up front, but sellers technically do because if they choose the agent that doesn't know what they're doing, doesn't fight for their bottom line, doesn't negotiate, those are days on market that they're tacking on. That's money on the table. So,
Yep.
in a way, they are paying for the price of the wrong choice. Which kind of scary, don't you think? When it comes down to the fact that you want to maximize your net at the end.
Yeah, I'm gonna give 2 stories on that too. That's a really good point. But not only that, is also potential missed opportunities. So I have 2 listings now currently that were with another agent before, and they both have very kind of similar stories. At least that what I'm about to express is, one
Hmm.
of them had an agent, and there were almost no showings in about whatever amount of time, and they only found out that they almost had one showing on accident when that agent who was going to show the house, the buyer's agent, came to the house on accident. What do you mean by accident? Well, her listing agent canceled the showing, but didn't,
No.
because she couldn't make it, and didn't tell the seller. And the seller was upset because she's like, I would have let them in without you. But there was no communication there. And that could have been the sale, that
Yeah.
missed opportunity. Again, that was a discount broker, um, whatever.
And
We're going to go.
for anybody, guys, for any agent that is a solo agent, make some friends. Okay, make some friends because the day that you can't show a property,
You
don't
need a
ever let.
bench.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have friends, fine. Go send out an email to your office and pay it out, or just create a partnership. You should never, because now that missed opportunity. Now you've not only left potentially an opportunity for a sale go by. Now that seller doesn't trust you.
That's right.
Like, you've lost the trust in that relationship,
It's
and
over.
it's over. Everything throughout the process is going to be questioned, and now you've lost. In addition to trust, you've lost referral business in the back end. I mean, it's
Yeah.
a lose lose. Find a friend.
Well, definitely from the front. So you have, so we're talking about those 7 things to sell a house, and one of those, that fits with technically communication. If you can't
Mhm.
communicate openly and efficiently, not only with other agents and all that, but with your client on how to manage these uncomfortable situations where a showing
Mhm.
comes up that you can't accommodate. If you can't communicate with your seller, like, hey, I just can't make it. I know you want me here for all showings. However, I don't want to miss this opportunity. So is this okay for this exception for this time? If you can't convey that to them, then and you can't negotiate, then 2 of the 3 things are already gone. And
Mhm.
then the third one's marketing. And I've seen our colleagues market. I'm pretty sure that would be missing too. And I don't mean that derogatory, but most agents don't market aggressively, if we're being real. So if we're looking at, if you 2 out of 3 things, and likely all 3 things are the reason why they're hiring you is not there, then a couple things you can say, okay, I need to elevate my business and what I can offer to people. And you might not know, if you're an agent listening, you might just not know how to do that, which is fine. And that's exactly why in February 4th, we're doing those deep dive workshops 2 times a week. We're going to build it step by step to show you exactly how to do that. So you are the top dog. So if you want that, I'll get you on the wait list. The wait list link's going to be in the description. Click on
Yeah.
that, and I'll give you
And
some free trainings and all that stuff before then.
Chris, I'll add to that too. So for anyone who feels like maybe they don't need it, or they feel like they have all of these components in place, I would suggest still looking and being a part of it, because there are things that you can tweak. There are things that you may think you have had, but you actually don't. Maybe you miss. Maybe you have it and you completely miss the mark. This is an ever evolving, uh, based off of trial and error, but also data points, training, so that you can elevate your business. And why not, right? Why not try something that is tried and true and has continued to show that it works for
It makes
different
your life better.
better, yeah, and different personalities too. I think you should try to take a poll on that, or not a poll, I don't know, try to create some data points on that, because some people might say, well, I'm not like Chris, I'm not, and I'm not like Jen, an extrovert, or whatever, this is not my personality type. Same, because I know different people in your trainings that are of different personality types, that take on your take on real estate, and it works for them.
Sure does. Well, it works for
So
anyone. If you're running a business, it creates the business model that makes sense from the consumer side.
mhm,
It doesn't matter what your personality is. If you're
I
trying to
agree.
make if you're trying to increase your conversion rates and elevate the experience of your client, I
Mhm.
have not seen any other trainings out there that exist like this, and that's why I made it.
Yeah.
So, but thank you for saying those really kind words. I did not pay Jennifer to say those things. I do have to say
Uh,
something, Jen,
he did not.
with you. So when we first started working together to now, you're like a million percent more, like, how do I say this? Like, the way you communicate about business per
Mhm.
se is just way further off the charts than a year and a half ago. So I'm gonna say I'm very impressed, especially in this podcast, and some of the things you said. So we're gonna
Thank
clip them,
you.
stick them on the social of the media.
Please do promote me all that you. This is. I am also shameless. Okay, plug away, baby.
Plug away. Last point about the training. I'm gonna because it's kind of important. If you were kicking the can on it right now, how it is on the website, and I don't know when you're listening to this, but sometime in early January, it's probably gonna be January 1st. I'm taking the product off of the webpage, and I'm only going to be offering the group coaching strategy sessions on an open launch twice a year. I want to do a big launch, bring people in, walk them through the process of the three month process. By the way, after 3 month process, there's a continuation if you want, but 3 month process, do the continuation, take 2 weeks off and relaunch it again. And if you join the first launch, you're always grandfathered into the second, the third, the fourth, and the fifth forever, ever, ever. You don't get extra charge for that stuff. But anyways, what I'm saying, like, a reason why I'm taking it off the cart now, off the page soon in a couple of months, because I'm going to be increasing the price, and
Mhm.
I would love people all to start at a starting point together, and it's organized, and that we're all on the same page and we can help each other more grow each other's businesses as a community that way. So get the training before the price goes up, because it
Get
is
it.
going to go up. Coachingbykuzi.com, select level 2 if you want to be part of the coaching program, if you want to do it on your own speed, level 1. But level 1 will not get you in, um, to the launch in February. So
Cool. I like it.
that was a lot. I'm trying not to be salesy because I don't feel like I'm selling something. I think I'm providing something. So it's kind of weird. It's like I just want to tell you it's like going on a date, Jen, and you're like, "Hey, did you know? See this hairline? It's real." And
I'm so
I
stupid.
I have a good I have a good heart, and I love puppies, and I work
Mhm.
very hard, and I treat people well. That's how I feel like if I went on a date. That's what I just did.
I gotcha. All right. Well, I mean, but the training speaks for itself, guys. If you don't know what the training is, I would suggest you just do some research. Do some research on our boy Chris here and see how he has been able to grow his success. And it's through the use of these coaching tools. So, yeah,
You're the best, Jen. You
you
are a
know,
success story of it. Oh, by the way, if I can,
if you can.
maybe right after this or later, if I could get you on a testimonial, I ask you 4 questions, you answer them, and then I can use that in some of the pre-launch emails. Would you do that?
Yes, maybe
Not
not
today.
directly. I was like, maybe not directly now. My phone's been blowing up that my
I know,
screen's
me too. I'm,
behind
I'm,
you.
I'm looking too. I'm like, I gotta go. I
You
gotta
see
go. I
me?
gotta
I
go.
was like, me.
Not just in general. Why has your
yeah.
attention?
Yeah, just make sure I have my hair done, okay?
Okay, well, you text me when you get your head above water when you can do it. It's only gonna take you 5
Ah,
minutes.
I know. I give after
Okay,
Thanksgiving.
okay, bye, Jen. Go to work.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Seriously, bye.
Bye.